And welcome back to the hottest marriage show in the world. This I, John D, a.k.a. Too Much, and my wife,
Kanika,
a.k.a. And we are doing Too Much Podcast, here to bring you wonderful conversations that we have in our humble abode. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, thank you.
That's awesome. How was your week?
It was kind of crazy.
What made it crazy?
So I don't know. It started off regular, and then there was the shooting this week at Michigan State University, which is our
alma mater.
Yes, but also 5 minutes down the street. So with that came everybody staying home the next day. And this is all off of the week before having a fake call into day school about an active shooter. And the day before that, the elementary school having a crime scene nearby. So it's just kind of piling up. So yeah, a family at home and feeling like the world has finally caught up with me and is now at my doorstep. You know, because you get to live in different places and you hear about things that happened over there.
Yeah.
In that state, in that country. But for it to happen 5 minutes down our street is, you know, it kind of takes that last little bit of you being able to be in a bubble. It takes that away. So this has been a weird, very, very unsettling, and, you know, just a idea of my kids not being safe. It's a different level of my kids not being safe. And so, and my family as a whole not being safe. So that it's not been a very pleasant week.
Got you. So just listening to you, what do you think could prevent those things from happening? Because I do want to say, I think this happened on the 13th, and on Valentine's Day, there were accounted in the United States 67 mass shootings in the country to date as of 2023. So we had more mass shootings than we've had days in the year. And being that it's gotten so close to you, what do you think? Like, I guess, you know, a lot of times people don't realize how serious it is until you're that close. But what do you think could reduce the number of instances where people are using guns to kill people that really don't have anything to do with them?
Yeah. I think my suggestions would be what we heard over and over again, as far as the accessibility of guns, but going further up the stream to the top, where, you know, the problem lies. I think there's a lot of we're not doing any service to our family and our friends when they seem to be sick or struggling with something, and we ignore it. Not necessarily on purpose. Maybe you feel like you know, this would never, my friend or my son or my family member would never do this. But one thing that I found consistent is when they talk to the family of the person who's committed the crime, usually they're like, well, you know, they were a little, you know, off to themselves. They know that maybe something traumatic happened to them recently. And they're, you know, we can't assume that people are handling trauma the way that we do.
Correct. Or we can't even assume we're doing it right.
That's true. And we can't even, like, you know, some things that you wouldn't even define as traumatic based on your own experiences, that don't mean that it's not traumatic to that person,
Correct.
You know, based on their experiences. And so and this is not to blame other people. I understand who's responsible for the act, but I do feel like I've seen more than not interviews with people close to them, and they're like, well, this, that, I did notice this, he was more that or whatever. But I mean, it's difficult to say that we would be able to really encourage that person to get help, because we don't necessarily value or pay attention to mental health the same way you would if somebody had a physical ailment.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so, I don't know, I guess maybe normalizing mental illness enough where we start to pay attention to it instead of saying, oh, they'll be all right. Or, and I can't even say that it's always going to work that way, because some people don't show any signs.
Yeah.
Or, they've always had a certain way about them. They've always been introverted. They've always been this way, and people can't read that. So that's why I'm saying I definitely don't blame anyone around them. I understand it's the person's responsibility, but sometimes I feel like there are people who are watching and they just decide that that's not something that somebody they know would do. I don't think we should really put it past anybody at this point.
You can't. And I was thinking, like, listening to you, I feel like the blame is going on the people. And when I say that, I mean, like, if you can't tell when somebody's mentally ill.
You can't. Not always. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So, and mentally ill looks different,
It does.
So when you said the access, to me, I feel like there should be some stricter gun laws, because we're using gun laws that they used in 1776 where, and this is what I want to bring to attention of, like, those laws then were for rich white men who were protecting their land. And not only that, women couldn't vote then, and black people were 3/5 of a person. So when people talk about these are our rights, like, you're right, there are, but that don't mean that they can't be updated for the benefit of the constituents of the country.
I agree.
And where I am, I feel like when people can make an argument about rights and not protecting people's lives, like, in my opinion, the government needs to do the reevaluation of the laws that we follow and just update them. And I feel like if you think that somebody 250 years ago is smarter than the people that's today, then what world are we really living in? That was a total different time. And if we don't be more accountable for the people who are making bad decisions, it's only going to get worse. I don't see somebody like we keep the same standards or laws and things. It's like, you know what? These are some good laws. Let's do better. And I feel like we need to do the thing. Like, I don't know who it was, but you told me that one of the forefathers said that the Constitution and laws need to be updated every 20 years so that it doesn't get the point of it doesn't get lost.
Yeah, I think it's just like you don't want to be stagnant. And that was a conversation I had with Dallas, which I agree. Because I think that whoever stated that understood that times will change and the regulations need to change with it. Coming from underneath a monarchy that was centuries old and they had been following the same guidelines, I'm sure that these innovative people who came and created this country and formulated all these ideas of what they wanted it to look like understood that the country would continue to change and the needs would change as well. But somewhere along the lines, we lost that. But I think it's, I agree that there should be stricter gun laws. I just wonder why do we have to have guns so easily accessible to so many people? I don't know. But at the same time, we have an environment and a society that allows people to be so financially deprived of things, poverty breeds violence.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you have people who are trying to protect their things and you have other people who are trying to take things and they need these weapons, truthfully, there's not, the way that our society works, there's no way that they're going to be extremely strict with these gun laws, because
I don't think that they should be extremely strict. I think they should just be in a way that it can protect the people of the country.
But what does that mean? Because
I don't want you to think that I've thought about it to that extent, but I do feel like there are people that's in that life, and I feel like they should have suggestions to be able to protect the people of this country, because like, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I just feel like I don't see how it could get better.
I agree
with what's going on.
I agree. I think that there's, to me, you have so many things that need to be done. You need to have the gun laws that basically, and it's even crazy to the fact that it's like kids getting guns. So how are they even accessing them? You know what I'm saying? So having stricter laws in regards to how to purchase, registration of weapons, things of that nature, it's important. We're always going to find people that are going to file off some numbers or, use.
Oh, yeah. Well, you can't control the illegal stuff.
Yeah. It's just, I guess I'm sitting here thinking to myself, in the broader scheme of things, how do we allow our society to operate that continues to support this? Like, you got people who are mentally ill that are not being supported. You got people who are financially struggling, who are looking for a way out. That desperation comes from somewhere. You know what I'm saying? You have, and even tragedies that we have going on now that go unanswered. All we get from our representatives are thoughts and prayers. Mm-hmm. And so when you feel like you've lost all hope, I mean, we can't really say what people are going to do, what decisions they're going to make that are going to impact others. I do agree with what you were saying, in the sense that, like, I believe that everybody should have their right to live their life the way they want, except when it impedes upon my ability to live my life.
Especially the idea that innocent bystanders who possibly could be living their life the way that they would like, you just took that away from them.
So the fact that, we want people to be able to have guns as they see fit, it also increases the risk of people dying who have absolutely nothing to do with anything. And because our country, it is truly, truly a sickness we have here, where guns are constantly being used in this manner in comparison to other countries. You would think that we would want to sit here and fix it. But you know what it makes me feel like? We were talking earlier about Europeans, when they would go places and they would learn new things, and they would still call the people that they were visiting uncivilized or savages. But then they would take those practices they have and use them for themselves. As an example, you said in India had indoor toilets,
yeah,
like for centuries,
1900 BC,
right? And the Moors, they were bathing much. They understood the ideas of cleanliness more so than Europeans before they were overtaken. And there were even they were talking about recently how European physicians were going into villages in Africa, and that's how they learned how to do a C-section. There was a tribe of women, I can't remember the name. There was a tribe where the women could do a C-section. Very little life lost, very little, complications as far as bleeding and things of that nature. And they took that information and they went back and perfected it within their own, society. And then it becomes like we are these stellar people. We're the picture of civilized and advanced, and all these other people are very primal, or whatever the case may be. and I feel the same way about the United States. We are running around here like a bunch of animals, and we swear up and down that we can regulate other people or say when other people have human rights crises and all that other stuff. But when you look inside the house, like, we're looking pretty uncivilized right now in comparison to other countries who are able to manage. But what we don't do is we don't go to other countries and find out what they're doing and bring it back and then model it here. We just keep looking crazy.
We just try to figure it out on our own mistakes in the court.
But at the same time, this particular thing, we're not even trying to figure it out. Because if you can say that we've had more mass shootings than we've had days in the year, that's no different than previous years. And we just keep doing it. Yeah. Like, I'm trying to figure out where, this is insanity. Like, we keep doing it, and there's literally nothing that has changed. And if something has changed, y'all can tell me. But I don't see anything that has changed other than our kids doing lockdown drills. And I think there was a conversation about a state who was looking to allow people under 18 to have a gun. I'm just like, I'm trying to figure out what we're doing. So are we just going to continue to flood? Like, you can't even vote, but we're going to consider whether or not you can take a life, defend yourself, know the proper handling and what to do. I just think that this is craziness.
So just listening to you, that's the reason why I feel like we're really good at making bad decisions, because we are loyal to an idea that's over 250 years. Like, instead of correcting from the top, you would create these measures to protect people so that you can keep giving people that are mentally ill with guns. So why is it that we're having lockdowns as a regular drill? You know what I'm saying? When you are trying to normalize, this is what you should do, instead of removing the weapons that are in the wrong people's hands. To me, I feel like it's not even rich people. It's just regular common people that feel like the worst can happen and I need to have a gun. But I wanted to say this. They should have a rule where if somebody in your family does something, you lose the license for your entire family.
Dang. But
well, I'm saying,
what if you needed to protect you from that family? Like,
this
you mean in the household?
Correct.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because to me, I feel like a lot of these young people who are getting guns, they learn it from that household. They don't just say, you know what, I'm gonna grow up, and they get this idea that guns are not that serious. And I'm not saying serious. They may be very responsible when it comes to handling a gun, but you don't know what's going on in their head, where procedure of a gun doesn't matter. They just want to shoot it at people. And to me, I feel like and I'm not even saying that was a good suggestion, but if we don't have these suggestions that can reduce the number of wrong people having access to guns, like, I think that at some point it's going to do worse. I mean, I know it's getting worse, but I think it's going to do something like, why didn't we do anything before? Like, why did it have to get to this point? And I feel like it's like the red flags, like people in relationships. They believe they can get over the storm. They don't understand that the storm is only going to get worse. And if you don't recognize the red flags as a country, as leaders of this country, if you keep talking about the people need these rights, then you don't have anything that's going to make it make sense later. It's almost like, what do you do when you think you're doing the right thing and then the wrong thing happens? I think you like remember we talked about, if you run a country and you don't do a good job, you should be removed.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You shouldn't get another opportunity to correct the mistakes that you did before. Like, it didn't work. We need some other ideas. And I thought about how worried I am for just our kids and the future in general. Like, but think about this though. How many people that don't have mass shootings in their area that they don't even take it serious? They like us, before it came this close, it was like, oh.
Well, yeah. I understand the seriousness of it, but I definitely felt a false sense of security that generally nothing really pops off around here. Not like that. And but I think when we're looking at this, there are a few examples that come to mind. Police brutality and rape. And the reason why I say that is that we often try to teach the people who may be victims how to maybe not be a victim. Like, always talk to the police officer respectfully. Make sure that your hands are always visible. Turn all the lights on in the car. Don't like all this stuff. Then you tell the kids, you need to learn these lockdown drills. Everybody needs to be quiet. Hide in this corner. You need to follow these instructions. Then you have us when we're looking at I said police brutality and rape, and then so in this case, we're talking about what can we do? What can we do? What can we do? And really, we're supposed to be telling the people who are writing these laws into place that they're the ones, like, we need to start looking at the people who are responsible, and that's the police officers. We need to start addressing those who perpetrate or who are more likely to perpetrate. So when we talk about rape, we always talk about, women need to dress a certain way. But I told you about that experiment they did where they had people as an exhibit, not art exhibit, but it was an exhibit where they asked certain people their story of how they were assaulted, and then give their clothes that they were wearing or an example of the clothes they were wearing. And so when you look at it, like, there were people with sweatpants on, there were people with pajamas on, there were people with and it wasn't necessarily that they all had provocative clothing. So then when you don't have provocative clothing, then what's the excuse? Because they didn't do anything that provoked someone to be, they weren't in a bar, they weren't doing this, they weren't doing that. And so we often talk to women about how to avoid being assaulted, but there isn't really a big push on teaching men about assaulting people. Or like just recently, as an example, I was talking to Dallas. Dallas likes to, he's big, he's much taller than me now, and he likes to pick me up, and I do not like it. And so recently I was explaining to him, I said, you are really, really learning about your own strength. You're learning, and it seems like it's fun and games. I said, but truthfully, women do not like to feel out of control of their body. Mm-hmm. Like, when you take control of someone's body and they're asking you not to, even if it sounds like it's playing, even if I don't care what it is. It's not comfortable and it's scary. And with that, just this morning, he said, "Mother, can I pick you up?" And I was like, "No, I'm not comfortable with that." And he didn't. He just gave me a hug and he went on about his business. But why are we not teaching boundaries on both ends? Like, women, or
where do you learn that if it's not in the household? So,
but that's what I'm saying to you, is that we often don't look at the perpetrator or the people that are in power. We often look at the people who are potential victims and tell them ways that they might be able to avoid being hurt. And it's the same with the cops. Like, we talk about what kind of training did they ever really get? How deep does their training go in regards to understanding their role in these power trips that they have and things of that nature? Like, one cop can terrorize a whole number of people. We don't know who those people are, if they've been trained on how to avoid being, victimized by this cop. But we should be teaching them.
Yeah.
Just like the people who are creating these laws, the people we have in Congress, it's like we're all talking amongst ourselves about what we can do. But if they're not doing what we're talking about, and they don't care if these kids are dying, and then why are they still sitting there? When you talk about people creating laws to really fit where we live now, we've talked about this before. The people who are representing our country are so old. They have no idea. They can't even fathom how far this world may go. You know, they may be gone tomorrow. I mean, we've had some representatives who have passed away in the office being as old as possible. And it's kind of like, you can't see the future. You can't see what's projected to come. And I feel like they're not the people that are going to make these changes.
Yeah.
They really need to be removed from their offices so that we can get people in there that value the same things that we do, that see the world the way that we do. Like, but just like you and I, living here, it's different. If those representatives had families living in these areas where schools were getting shot up, would they be as thought and prayer, or would they be more about action? Yeah, I struggle with the whole idea of, I know we all have things that we can do to help keep ourselves safe, but it's weird to me that we never really look to the people who make the situation what it is and require that level of responsibility, or that increased responsibility. Like, if you're able to have a gun, you should feel some level of responsibility beyond, you know, oh, I just got to make sure it's locked up in the house. And sometimes they don't even do that. But we require people to be licensed and checked more often for things like your driver's license. And like, we require more of other people than we do when it comes to guns. And in a lot of ways, like, we can't hurt people with some of the other stuff they make us do. You know what I'm saying? It's just odd to me that people argue about this right to bear arms like that. There are so many other things in that amendment don't nobody ever even quote about. They don't even care to say anything about. But that one thing they've been holding on to for years just to keep up with this. And we see that it does us no good.
I think because majority of the people that's holding on to that are thriving on patriotism, saying that they believe in what the country stood for from the beginning and don't realize it can get better.
And I don't even think all of them are doing that. I think that some people are like, if y'all gonna have a gun, then I need to have one.
No,
so
I don't. I don't know anybody like that.
You do have some so these people who are drunk off patriotism, but there are people with guns that they couldn't.
No, I'm saying, but the people with the voices are the ones that's, when you hear about people fighting for rights, they don't talk about, I got this because you got one. It's more so, these are our rights, and you're not going to take away our rights because our forefathers, all of this. So that's, well, at least that's the programming that I hear.
But I also think that there are other reasons, but they amplify that because that
makes more sense for the masses. It's like, this is for the betterment of the country.
Yeah, to me, it just kind of amplifies people's, oh, you're trying to take, and that's the thing, you're always trying to take something from somebody. So there may be a ton of reasons why people have guns, but amplifying the voices that talk about rights and being an American and patriot and all the other stuff
doesn't make sense.
But it
not at this day and age.
It definitely draws the support for them to continue to not do anything.
Even people without guns, they'll say this is our rights.
Yeah. Do you have a gun? No, but I understand that it's our right.
Look, I believe that too, but I just feel like everybody shouldn't get a gun though. Like, if you can't monitor those who are getting guns, you should monitor how many guns you put out then.
Yeah.
You know, and I just feel like our system is archaic, and in the sense of, you can't really be following things from 250 years ago.
Yeah.
And we are. And I'll tell you this, because we've moved so fast in technology was the distraction of the United States really being up to date with times when we're not. We're still practicing 250-year-old ideas with technology that distracts people, that says we're up to date with the rest of the world.
Yeah.
And I believe that's the reason why we're falling, because majority of the kingdoms that fail is because they didn't know how to take care of their people.
Well, truthfully, I feel like we still ain't taking care of our
That's what I'm saying. That's why we're falling.
Yeah.
The technology was the money, the amount of money where we thrived on capitalism distracted everybody because we had a small percentage of people that could lead the world through capitalistic view, disguise what the rest of the country's going through. I mean, like you got poor people talking about capitalism and you're not even good at it. You know what I'm saying? Like, how are you?
They could be parts of
Capitalism is only about the fit. The fittest survive, like this dog eat dog world. Like if I can do it, anybody can do it. But that's not always the case. If you don't have the resources or the information on how to do it, you don't know how to practice and save. You don't know what to spend money on because you want to live life of the distractions of the people around you. And again, when it comes to black people, we're just young. Like, so it's like we feel like if we see these people doing this, that's going to make us feel good. And I feel like if the country does, and I'm only talking about black people because, we black, but majority of the country that's failing are white people, the poor white people, and they're holding on to those laws or those ideas. And I feel like if we don't get a communicator to say, hey, this is not in your best interest, they're going to always stand for the archaic laws we still practice. But anybody you want to give a shout out before we get out of here?
I want to give a shout out to the families who were impacted by the events over the last couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
I just can't imagine. You know what I'm saying? And I'm hoping that they are getting the support and comfort that they need, because I can't say that there's anything anybody can do to give them what they lost back. So
yeah, that's who I was going to give a shout out to. Anybody who was impacted, not just here, but anywhere. If you're impacted by any type of gun violence through mass shootings or just guns, period.
Yeah.
I'm going to send a specific prayer to you guys, because most of the time when those things happen, like it's just random. Like you're just in the wrong place at the wrong time. And it wasn't your fault. But shout out to you guys and prayers for strength and understanding on why it had to happen to your family and the people around you. Y'all make today better than yesterday. Don't worry about anything you can't control. GATA, get after that action, or that action will get after you. Be great on purpose. Boom.